Welcome to the Fasting Podcast, Wow, Wellness and Optimal Weight. I'm your host, Julie Phillips, certified natural health professional for 2 decades after a life-threatening scare. This is episode 80, Beware OMAD, 1 meal a day. What is 1 meal a day? Well, it's eating only 1 meal, just like it says, very simple, no snacking, basically 23:1. So 23 hours of fasting, the longest period for intermittent or time-restricted eating within a day. So it's a 23-hour fast and 1 hour or less to eat your caloric food. Some consider it an extreme form of time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting. I personally like clean OMAD, where your food and drink is all natural and organic whenever possible. That could make a huge difference in your life right there. And going low carb is a really nice OMAD option. Not to an extreme with low carb. We did an episode on the serious considerations and insights on extreme typical keto diets. So we don't want to go extreme. The pig out OMAD, which actually is quite popular, where you eat horribly large amounts of food and overeat, is a really common thing, often full of processed junk food. We do not recommend that whatsoever. And alternate day fasting, if you think about it, alternate day fasting is restricting how much you eat every other day. So if you did your every other day where you are doing alternate day fasting and you're trying to keep that to a single meal, you could consider the OMAD. Some people do it every other day or every third day. There are some potential benefits. Most likely, it's going to take you less time, work, and cost than eating more often. Can lose weight in inches for sure. Typically, 23 hours is going to be able to burn some serious consumed food, glycogen stores, or the stored carbs and sugar in your muscles and liver, and finally get around to burning toxin-laden fat. There's a good chance of getting into autophagy because studies have been done on the 24-hour fast where you can get into autophagy and, depending on what was eaten, can get into stem cell activation perhaps and increased human growth hormone for youthfulness to help preserve muscle and bone. And the well-known benefits of intermittent fasting, which are many, may apply with this being the longest window of time-restricted eating. But now, let's talk about some concerns from clinical studies. Based on a Harvard 2010 study with OMAD over eating, it was mice-based, but there was a lot to be learned here in this study. There's something called RNA-dependent protein kinase, PKR. And normally, in our bodies, that finds and fights viruses, but PKR can cause inflammation and shutting down protein synthesis. However, PKR does these things not just for viruses, but also for overeating. The mice with the PKR actually gained significantly more weight eating exactly the same amount of food that the other mice did that were not restricted to doing 1 meal a day. Also, the mice with the PKR had significantly more inflammation. So, overeating with OMAD can backfire on you. Another study, Journal of Metabolism, reviewed OMAD versus 3 meals a day for 2 months and determined that the OMAD group had significantly higher levels of fasting glucose the next morning, indicating not using their fuel properly. The OMAD group had decreased insulin sensitivity, which is a very serious concern. We want insulin sensitivity to be increased, and we want to get rid of insulin resistance. So this went in the opposite direction that we wanted. The OMAD group also had increased ghrelin, and that's the hunger hormone. Another study from the American Journal of Clinical Investigation revealed concerns about possible higher blood pressure and cholesterol increase. There's a lot more concerns as well, regardless of whether they came from a study, but it can be really difficult mentally for some people to do. Hunger can be a significant problem. It can trigger or worsen eating disorders. It can be really difficult to sustain with feelings of deprivation, and it can impinge on our social life and family meals. It can hinder sufficient energy for the right amount of exercise or activity that you desire. It can hinder being able to take medications with meals if you're a person that does take those. It can be tempting to overeat and eat junk food, and it's often done late in the day with less time to burn off the calories you ate and could impact your sleep, which is better off doing repair and rebuild instead of digesting a lot of food. Other potential side effects identified by a famous holistic doctor include possible binge eating, low energy, brain fog, shakiness, chills, nausea, possible GI upset or diarrhea, and mood changes. How about some options to consider no matter what? How about all natural and organic whenever possible? That's our theme all the way through every podcast episode. But if you still choose OMAD, what if it's only 1 or 2 non-consecutive days per week, or just occasionally, or just when you want to try to break a plateau? Consider 2 meals a day, TMAD. 2 meals a day, perhaps, with a 5 to 7 hour eating window if that suits you. So that seems to be ideal, and if your social hour is more typically lunch than dinner, you can gauge your 5 to 7 hours if you like this approach. And you can break the fast with your smaller meal, perhaps with lean protein, low carbohydrates, possibly bone broth, and then in a few hours you could eat the larger meal, concluding the 5 to 7 hour eating window. It's just an option, but it's a good option. And doing that approach, the TMAD in a 5 to 7 hour window allows time for water between the meals and time to digest and burn off the food and eventually the fat. TMAD can help with handling of insulin and getting more nutrients into the body than the typical OMAD. So you have multiple meals to get multiple nutrients and handle the blood sugar perhaps a lot better. And TMAD is more conducive to avoiding hunger challenges and having fuel for exercise than the 1 meal a day. So here's my vote for weight loss and health gain, starting with the TMAD in a 5 to 7 hour window, plus perhaps a 24-hour fast once a week. And a 72-hour fast, we did an episode on that, I think it was 48, once per quarter, and a 7 to 10 day extended fast we also did once per year. So this is a really solid plan, and you can mark your calendar. You can check out the notes and slides on our website, www.jpwowprograms.com. And we also have our favorite WOW products, a weekly blog article, and our WOW Lifeboat Freedom video system for income from sharing the WOW natural products. Stay positive, focused, and determined, because where the mind goes, energy flows.